Hello, friends, and welcome back to Market Shares. I'm your host, Tony Blodgett, and today I got back with me Anton Stetner and Jeff Latham. And today is going to be a little special episode, a little different episode than what we talk about, but I think it's so important to what all of us do. You know, I think the people that watch this podcast, the people that I surround myself with, the people that I work with every day, the people that these guys work with every day, we're loan officers, we're mortgage professionals, we're real estate agents, we're in the real estate industry. And one thing that gets overlooked all too often is our own personal health. And I've never been to a conference before or any sort of a coaching program where they don't show you the wheel, right? And the wheel of life. And you got to put on there, okay, how's your family life? How's your money situation, your finances? How's your health, right? It's one of the spokes on everyone's wheel. And I would argue, especially as we start getting older, it's the most important spoke on the wheel, because without health, you have literally nothing. You might be dead. So, just saying, like,
health or dead.
So, I wanted to talk about this with you guys. There's lots of people we could talk to health about. You're probably not the people that I, 6 months ago would have thought of as like, these are the two health guys. But you've done something really cool that I've been following on social media. Matter of fact, my wife joined your guys' program. So I want to talk a little bit about Six Pack Abs, which is the name of your Facebook group, and have you guys talk about that business. But it's more, and this is what we're going to talk about, it's more than just Six Pack Abs. Six Pack is the result of, having a healthy lifestyle, a healthy diet, exercise, those things. But this episode is going to be about your mental well-being, your physical well-being, and the discipline, frankly, that it takes to make health a priority in your life. So thank you guys for being willing to have this conversation.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I want to start with the Six Pack Abs because, that's where I first saw. I had no idea that either of you. Now, Jeff, I've been following, we've all been friends for a very long time. I've been watching Jeff doing ultra marathons, Ironmans, doing all these things, and it was pretty clear to me that you were trying to, obviously build your strength, build your health, all of those things. But I've seen you talk about this a little bit because I'm in your Facebook group, that those things weren't getting you to where you wanted to be. So maybe let's start with you talking about your journey and your kind of mindset around, what got you into doing, some of these, long distance running, the Ironmans, the things like that. And then what evolved and shifted for you that maybe put your focus in other areas that has now helped you accomplish the fitness goals that you had for yourself?
Yeah, so when I was probably 28 years old, my brother and I are drinking whiskey on the back porch of my house, and I'm smoking Marlboro Lights, and my wife has a twin sister, and they're running half marathons while we're partying. We're like, that's stupid. Why would you do that? And then one of my best friends, Bo, challenged my wife to a half marathon race in Hawaii. And I was like, well, maybe I'll try that. So I started running, and consequently, I couldn't drink as much. I couldn't run hungover. And being a smoker and running doesn't go hand in hand. Right. So that stopped. And then I could never beat my wife. She was so fast. And so I just started running marathons and then ultra marathons. And that was my egoic way of winning, I guess.
But there's no egos on this side of the table there. Like, none of us like winning at all. No.
Yeah. At all cost.
Well, it went, she's super fast. And so it went from like half marathons to Ironmans, and then, completed about 3 full Ironmans, which is 2-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, followed by a 26-mile run for a cool down, right? And then I kind of got burnt out on that, and then I started running ultra marathons and ran quite a few 50-milers, attempted 400-milers. Farthest I've made it 72 miles. I will get one this year because I said I would. And if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And do I want to? Not really, but I will. But the reason I did it was to get fit. to get dominion over my body. And what I found is I couldn't out-train my fork. When I thought I was in the peak shape of my life, I mean, it made me tougher, but I was skinny fat. And I worked out so hard, and I always just wanted to look good with my shirt off and just have abs and be in great shape. And so I've hired every coach out there, and then I saw Dan Martell, someone I follow on social media, just get shredded. And so I called Anton, and you could probably tell the story from there.
So I get this call from Jeff, and he goes, "Brother, I need you." And the tone, and this still pisses me off. I want to point this out. The tone is like, I'm dying, I have cancer, I'm getting a divorce. Like, there's something genuinely wrong. So I was like, well, what do you need? He's like, I need your special level of crazy. I was like, yeah, I'm committed. What are we doing? He goes, well, we're going to get abs. And I was like, shut the... Well, I was genuinely upset because the emotion leading into the call was so strong. But yet that was what it took, because Jeff is good at sales, and he knows how to get me riled up, say we can't do it, and then we're going to go do it. And I was like, well, yeah, let's go do that. And so, I'd known about Dan before from his book, Buy Back Your Time. And this idea of leverage, he said who it was. I said, cool. Credit card, signed up, let's get going. And that's how we kind of started together, on our fitness journey. Before that, technically what happened to me was during the great financial crisis, I was working 100 hours a week. And because, with the GFC, I was like all investors, new construction heading in to the great financial crisis. And then all of a sudden that light went off. And then all of a sudden my whole business had to change. And I'm working 100 hours a week. I was, for the first time in my life, over 200 pounds. And one of the young kids that was working for me goes, let's join CrossFit. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. And he goes, well, we're going to learn to do like 200 pull-ups. And I was like, okay. So that was I'd always worked out my whole life, but that's when I started to get serious. And then unfortunately, I had to go through chemo a second time. And so I bulked up for chemo. And so I hadn't gotten rid of that weight, even though I was 2 years post my last treatment, cancer-free. And so when Jeff called and said, hey, let's do this, it was the right moment in my life, because I know that I've had health scares before, and that I have to control my eating. I've got to control my mental space and my spiritual space, all at the same time, so I can live the longest life possible and be here for the ones I love.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so let's talk about, so you follow this guy, Jeff, and you rope in Anton to do this. Give me an idea of how you guys started, because what this has turned into is a pretty significant movement. We're going to talk about that in a second, and it's turned into a business, and it's turned into transforming and helping a lot of people with this same challenge. So we're going to talk about that, but I want to stay with you guys for a second. What did that look like as far as what you reached out to a coach? Did they have a program that you signed up for? Kind of walk us through what taking, when you said, hey, we're going to go get abs, what was next? What did that take?
Well, we hired the coach, and we got the results. And then I started sharing my results online, and people were like, well, give me your meal plan. Tell me what you're doing. And so I called the coach and I said, can I sell your meal plan and just give you a referral? And he's like, sure. And I said, how much do you want? He's like, 50%. And I was like, okay. And he said, well, what are you going to do after? Because there's an initial 16 days where you go through a significant calorie deficit of real food, but you rip an average of 16 pounds off your body. And he says, well, what are you going to do after we'll call it the reset, cleanse part. I said, I don't know. I'll Google macros and send him something and help him. And he kind of looked at me cockeyed and he said, how about I partner with you? And I was like, okay. So Anton and I partnered with him, and we created this business. And Anton and I, we teach on building wealth in the real estate investing side. Yeah. And Alan teaches the fitness side. And so we help people get wealthy and more fit, or ripped and rich.
I like it.
And so this was created by an accident, but people were like, what are you doing? I want to know, because we were just sharing our results. Because I would argue one of the most challenging things in life to do is to get dominion over our body, because the deck's stacked against us. The foods, you think you're eating clean food, and it's all full of seed oils and processed, and you don't know how many calories you're eating. Even if you think you're eating clean, you don't know when to eat, and it's just, we're being poisoned. And so this is a very, very simple process, not easy, but it's very simple, and when you follow it every single day, results show up. And here we are now, we got like 162 people, and we're just having fun because we're seeing people. I mean, our group collectively has lost thousands of pounds.
So you have 162 people that have signed up for your coaching program.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's significant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This thing that started as a joke between two friends turned into us texting each other every day, Alan being an amazing friend and business partner, calling us on, when we step out of line, and then, so basically what it is 1 week, Alan coaches on food, fitness, and kind of the mindset around that, around where you're at, what you're doing. And then the next week, Jeff and I are going through these fundamentals. We're going through faith, family, finances, fitness. And yes, I would say most of our group is real estate people, but there are people who are completely outside of our industry. It just happened by accident. And, we started the Six Pack, and it wasn't about like getting a six pack or the name. It's more about this idea of how can I renew my mind, renew my body, get dominion over my person, and then get away from these poisons, get away from the constant toxins, get some energy. Get it to where like you feel comfortable ripping your shirt off and being like, damn, I look good naked.
Right.
And being proud of that result. One of the things that Jeff said that sold me, because once again, remember, I'm almost emotionally pissed off because he like baited me into this, is he said, we have to set an example for our children. We have to set an example for our families. We need to get out there and we need to become the fittest men on earth so that we're setting the example for them, because the deck is stacked against them and the country is telling them everything wrong to do.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, you had me at hello, but now you have my heartstrings too.
Right. So I couldn't agree with you guys more. And, Jeff, you mentioned that we're being poisoned. I've been watching, and this is what I encourage everyone here to do is, when you're done watching this episode, I would recommend a journey to learn more about what's really going on with the food in the United States.
Yeah.
And I would start by looking into sugar and processed food specifically, because 75% of what is sold in a grocery store should not be consumed. And I was listening to a Andrew Huberman podcast. I'm actually still in the middle of it. It's a 3.5 hour podcast with this brilliant doctor that I don't know his name. But I'm sure my team will link this into the show notes if you're on YouTube. But he in reading the definition of what is food, the reality is most of the stuff on a grocery store shelf is not even meeting the definition of food. Yeah. And that's crazy. So let's talk about the cleanse piece of it. I mean, you're not going to give it all away, but I'm pretty familiar with it because my wife did it and had pretty tremendous success. Part of the reason why I was like, I really love what these guys are doing. I got a lot of admiration for that, but maybe, for me, maybe the carnivore diet's a good option or whatever. I don't know. I could have probably done it, but it was difficult, but a simple plan. So maybe give us some ideas on what that 16 days is. But what I don't know about is what does phase 2 look like? What is more of I understand the cleanse piece of it, and that's pretty extreme, and as well it should be. One of the things we talked about earlier, before we started recording this, was just simply the discipline necessary to make these kind of decisions and stick to a plan. But I'm curious, just from a kind of nutritional perspective, give us a highlight of what the 16-day cleanse is like, and then what is food look like? Is it like a whole food diet? Are you just eating whole foods? Is it, give us an idea of what that looks like.
Yeah. So food is fuel.
Yeah.
Right. And so the initial 16 days is designed to detoxify you off the sugar, eliminate inflammation, and get you ridiculously results rapidly.
Yeah.
And so it gives you massive momentum. And within 16 days, people are releasing an average of 14 pounds. Some people have released 25 pounds.
Yeah. The world record.
And when you go through that 16 days, you have so much momentum. You're like, I'm not going back to the way I was. And so that's kind of like the reset. And then you're not craving sugar. You're not just brain fog. You get clarity. You sleep better. Everything's better. And then from there.
And part of it, too, I want to add in. Mm-hmm. It's a resetting of your gut health. Mm-hmm. Because that's part of it, too.
And your mind.
Your mind is so foggy and your gut is so messed up because we're ingesting 10,000 ingredients when there's probably only 400 real ones. And so it's real food, and it's not like I'm gonna get sick, or it's not like like some crazy juice cleanse or pills or something like that. It's literally resetting your body with real food.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I went and threw away about $400 worth of supplements because I didn't need them.
Right.
Because you just cannot out-train your fork, and you can't out-supplement your fork, and then you don't need supplements because supplements are supplementing nutrient deficiencies.
Right.
And so the first 16 days, you're getting this massive results. And then to roll into phase 2, we rip all the rest of the fat off of you to where if you're a man, you have visible 6-pack abs. Or if you're a woman, you like the way you look naked. And then from there, we say, okay, what kind of frame do you want to build? And so Anton and I were having a talk with Coach Allen. I was like, Brad Pitt Fight Club. And he's like, too skinny.
So hold on. So phase 2 is still kind of a cutting phase.
Yes. More sustainable. You're running, 1,600 to 1,800 calories. You're running a deficit, real food, and you're just ripping all the fat off of your body.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will try and they'll be like, well, I want to burn fat and build muscle at the same time. That's very tough. So we just peel all the fat off of your frame and then pack on muscle for phase 3. And then you're eating a calorie surplus. And then we just kind of rip it back down in time for summer where you're just chiseled.
But all of this is whole foods, though, right? I mean,
all real
no
food.
Processed food.
No dog shit.
No dog shit. So let's talk through, just give me a couple examples of meals that you guys are eating on a regular basis.
For lunch, I had chicken breasts, basmati rice, and asparagus with a little bit of olive oil on the asparagus and some seasoning. Phenomenal.
Yeah. Whole boiled eggs, oatmeal, good food. It tastes really good.
So this isn't a no carb kind of a diet, though.
No. There's actually there's a specific amount of carbs.
Good quality carbs.
You could think of it as a version of macros. For people who've done macros before. And I want to point something out. Jeff was talking about how he can't out-train his fork. I've done paleo. I've done Whole30. I've done juice cleanse. I've done the Mediterranean. Pick the diet. I've done it and tried it. And what I like about this is, one, this isn't a diet. This is a way of eating.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. And for people who are listening, what I want you to hear is, you don't need coaching. What you need is this simple thing. You need single ingredient food. You need water, sleep, exercise. And then you need accountability. So if you don't have accountability to do those things, then you need coaching.
Right.
But you have to create a system that allows you to do it. The biggest struggles that people run into is lack of prepared. So they're doing things at the last minute. So then as they're driving by something, they just reach over and grab whatever that is. The problem is most of the food that is in our food system is caloric rich and then nutrient deficient.
And addictive.
That's true. And addictive and filled full of sugar. So all that our programs do is we just give you real food. You eat real food. But you eat a fair amount of real food. So what's funny is when people move from phase 1 into phase 2, a lot of what they say is, man, I'm eating all the time.
Right.
Well, you are eating all the time, but you're eating real food. So it's probably more than you were eating before, and you're actually consuming less calories. And so that continues the process at a more sustainable rate. Next thing that happens, and this is for you guys are the ones that always say this, they say, I don't want to lose any muscle. So I felt the same way. So I got a DEXA scan, and then went and got another one, As my body went from 194 pounds down to 153.
Stop it.
Yeah.
I lost 0.1 pounds of muscle, 0.1. And my body fat went from 25 to 12.
In like 6 months.
And once again, I've literally tried everything. Now I'm in phase 3, so I'm in a caloric surplus. And I have programmed cheat meals. Eat whatever you want, it's a cheat meal. And I have treats. And I'm consuming more, and my weight has started to slowly come up because we're going to increase the weight because I want to sit basically somewhere, and I'm 6'1", but I'm a thin Scandinavian frame. I want to sit about 168 to 180 and 10% body fat. So I got to put on more muscle to get to that. And that goes back to what Jeff was saying. We're like, Alan's like, well, what do you want to look like? I was like, I don't look like that guy. He's like, nah, yeah, that'll work. We can build that.
Yeah, we settled on Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool.
Okay.
It's interesting. It's fascinating. You can design your own frame however you want, and that's how meticulous Alan is. He's just a mad scientist. It's crazy, and the reason this is so effective is because it's simple. You just eat the same thing every single day, and your body adjusts to it, and it does exactly what you want it to do.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are massively inflamed right now. They have gut issues that are happening to them. They have food allergies that's happening to them, and that their body is in such a point of stress that it can't release weight. Like they actually have to de-stress their body by giving it something more simple and a kind of a regular plan and a process, so the body knows what's happening. Especially everyone in our industry. I mean, it's been a hard couple of years.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in fight or flight, under a lot of stress and pressure. For us, what this has turned out to be is this has turned into be a de-stressing, a depressurizing, a relaxing of mind, body, and spirit. Because I didn't realize like how mentally and physically and kind of emotionally I was beat up from all the stress we've been going through.
Right. So when you get into phase 3 and you're kind of in that, rebulk stage, sounds like, still no processed food, but you can have some treats, you can have a dessert.
You can have some treats. It says no processed food, but I mean, I went to Nutty's Junkyard Grill last Saturday and I had a gigantic cheeseburger, French fries, and a milkshake.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm still eating some of it.
Right.
But most of it's been cut out.
Got it.
And it comes right off.
Right.
And there's ways to do it where you can have cheat meals and actually be leaner the next day. Like there's hacks for this. It's amazing. And we're helping people. I mean, you're reverse aging. He looks 10 years younger. We're eliminating diabetes. We're eliminating medications for that. We're eliminating, what else? All kinds of stuff. Gout.
Yes. So I'm curious, we're in mortgage and real estate, and let's be honest, a lot of alcohol consumption happens in our industry.
Yeah.
We're eliminating alcoholism.
So I'm curious with the diet though. I mean, is it like the first 16 days, no alcohol? Is it never any alcohol again? Like, what does that look like? I'm sure there's best practices and there's reality, but I'm just curious kind of what Alan kind of promotes.
Yeah. Ideally you're not drinking any. But definitely for the first 16 days, you're not. And then 2 or 3 months into the cut, like alcohol, there's no benefit from alcohol.
Well,
really.
Not only is there no benefit from alcohol, I would argue that it's poison. So, there's that.
Yeah. And so I think that's probably one of the biggest eye-openers we're seeing is we're eliminating people that were drinkers don't drink anymore. And so they're getting their life back.
There's like 2 types of sugar addiction. Like alcohol is a weird version of a sugar addiction, and then the food is like a weird version of the sugar addiction. But so you have people who, so during the first 16 days, of course, no drinking. And then in the first part of phase 2, there is no drinking. But then technically, once the cheat meals get introduced, you could drink during your cheat meal. And so I probably drink once every 2 weeks. But it's not one.
Right, sure.
It might be a couple marks. And so one, yes, I do agree alcohol is poisoning. I just enjoy the kind of the social aspect of it. But it's programmed in as part of your cheat if that's what you want.
Sure.
There's one individual in the group who loves chocolate. So like they have these fancy chocolate bars that they have during their cheat. It's not, you have to limit your life for a moment in time in order to change your habits. So you use the word discipline. I hate that word. My mom used to chase me around with a wooden spoon to discipline me. I just want to change habits because it's easier and it's less drastic and emotionally damaging to me. So we're changing habits, but once your habits start to change, you can have things that are fun, that are part of your lifestyle, that allow you to have a normal lifestyle, and you can program things in. So with my second cheat meal, for example, I moved it one day because my neighbor it was his birthday, and I wanted to go out to dinner and just eat whatever anyone else was having at dinner. I will tell you though, for the busy entrepreneurs, it's almost like it's heavenly. It calms the mind because we're so spun up on everything. When I know that I've got 2 options for breakfast, 2 to 3 options for lunch, and 2 to 3 options for dinner, and I plan my food out, I don't have to think about what I'm doing for most of the week, and I can just pound through, which allows me then to put more time and energy into my family and into business.
Yeah, and you make more money because you have more energy. I used to crash after lunch around like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd have to take a nap.
Yeah.
I don't crash anymore.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I've been working on my diet as well, and as I've mentioned on here multiple times, I don't drink any alcohol. But I noticed that when I was still consuming quite a bit of sugar and carbs, I was tired every afternoon. And I'm like, there's so many other things I've fixed in my diet. I'm like, why am I tired at like right before dinner, like 4 o'clock sometimes even? And I'm like, I have to take a nap, and usually I don't have time for a nap. So I'm just like, I'm dragging, I drove home one afternoon, evening. I almost thought I was going to fall asleep driving my car. And this was not late at night, and I just was crashing. Since I've, changed my diet, again, different than what you guys are doing, but, I'd say, I was inspired by what you guys were doing to kind of come up with something that worked for me. But I got energy all afternoon, and I found myself the other day, I was on a 5:30 phone call, and I'm just like on fire.
Let's go.
And it might as well have been the morning. So it's interesting how, your body crashes when you're consuming sugar. It's sugar, you guys. I think, really a lot of this is sugar. And I say sugar like people think like white sugar sitting on their counter. I'm talking the sugar and the fructose and the high fructose corn syrup and all the things that they try to hide in your food to make it feel like it's not sugar. It's all got sugar in it. And it's crazy, and that's why if you were to go watch one podcast or episode, I'm talking from a doctor, right? About sugar and processed food and how it reacts in your body, that might be the motivation. Yeah. That was some of the motivation for me that got me to finally make the changes necessary. Like, I do think that, I know you don't like the word discipline, but it does take, I'm not talking about disciplining somebody. Yeah. I'm talking about the discipline you have to have on yourself to stick to a plan and to be consistent. But I don't know what you guys, I'm curious your take on this. Something has to trigger it. You have to want, it's like anything. I can't force someone to do something. Someone has to come to you. So obviously, if you got 160 some people in your program, they've reached out on Facebook. They're reaching a point where they feel like they need something, and your guys' program can give them that. And I'm sure they like the community aspect of it and the fact that the coaching's with it and all that stuff. I'm curious, just where are you finding people get to? What is it that you think is triggering some people? I'm sure it's different, but just some examples of, I got to get my life, I got to get my health thing under control.
Yeah, well, I think you're seeing a lot of people that are experiencing dis-ease unnecessarily. And it's because of our American diet. And I think that's one, but I think there's also a vanity side to it. Everybody wants to be able to take their shirt off and look confident.
Right.
You know? And so when you see someone else doing it, at least in my experience with people that have joined us, they've seen me go through hell to try and get fit. And then I've only ran like twice in the last 6 months, and I was able to get really fit. So like, they want to know. Everybody wants to get fit, even though people will say, oh, I don't want to have a six-pack. Well, I ask them, like, if you can wave a magic wand and have a six-pack or not, what would you choose? And they say the six-pack. So it's more or less they don't want to give up.
So kind of like we were talking about in the real estate episode, there's some marketing to what you're doing, right? There's marketing in that people go, I want a six-pack.
Well, yeah. I want to know what makes people tick.
Yeah.
Even with my friends, like one of my buddies is talking to him, and I'm like, how much money you want to make? He's like, $250,000 a year. I said, well, why not $2 million? I don't need that. Okay. I said, if I can give you $2 million or $250,000, which one are you going to take? No strings attached. He says the $2 million. I'm like, well, why don't you set your goal for $2 million? Oh, I don't need it. I'm good with $250,000. Well, let's dig a little deeper. It's because they think they have to sacrifice time with their friends and their family and become a wage slave, or just like lose their life and sell their soul to make $2 million.
Yeah.
Same with having a six-pack. People think they just have to give up everything and sell their soul, if you will, and become antisocial to do that. And you don't. You can have your cake and eat it too, your protein shake and eat it too. You can. You can get shredded and have a great time and be a great parent. You can make millions of dollars and play and have an amazing life and unlimited freedom. You can have it all.
Right. You make a really good point, which is that people are setting goals that are achievable, that they think are achievable without them having to sacrifice. And that's probably, I hadn't heard it put that way, Jeff. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think people do that. And what you're trying to shine a light on is that go ahead and set the goal that you actually want, that's going to make you feel good, feel fulfilled, and then find the right hack that gets you there without having to make all that sacrifice. And there's ways to do it.
If you set mediocre goals, realistic goals, prepare for a mediocre life.
Yeah. I think what, like, to add in regards to this, Tony, is that people come to the group because of alignment. And this is what I mean. They go, I see what Jeff is doing, and that's in alignment with me. Or they hear what Rachel did, and they go, I could do that too. So they, generally speaking, they see someone else win, and then they're in alignment, or they see a mirror there where they go, in their mind, I could do that too. It's simple. It's not easy. It requires consistency, some perseverance, and starting to build a habit and a routine that's going to support you for a long period of time. The other thing too is, yes, we have some people who just do the cleanse. We'll be honest, I don't think it's worth it, because you're there for the quick hit of the dopamine, for the quick win. What Jeff and I want, what Alan wants, is we want people who want to change their life.
Right.
We want people who, like, oh, I'm mentally committed to the next 5 years. I want to make a lifestyle change. I want to make a habit change, because this is those habits, as they start changing, they start bumping into other areas. One of the gentlemen today was talking about, hey, I did one of the money hacks that was recommended. And the short version was set up a siphon that auto pulls money from some area and auto drops it into a E-Trade account or something like that, and then go buy the S&P 500. He put that up in the group, I did this, because we had talked about the winnable games. We had talked about taking the action. And so the group accountability was pulling him through, and he wanted to share with everyone. That's the people we're looking for, the people who go, hey, that's me, and I want accountability, and I want to change my habits and my lifestyle. I may have to use some discipline in the beginning, but I want to create a habit and a lifestyle change to where this is just normal. The problem is we have normalized over drinking. We've normalized massive consumption of food and processed food and sugars. What we're doing, and what I think the whole nation is doing right now, I think our whole nation's changing in front of our eyes. I think we're normalizing getting back to real food. like exercising, like picking up some heavy shit. Like if you can lift heavy shit, if you're willing to drink water, get some sleep, take some steps, and then eat single ingredient food, your life will get a lot better real quick.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, so this is great. This is great. I'm glad we had this conversation. How do people, if they want to get into your group specifically, how can they check it out? See some of the folks that are winning. Is there a website? Is there a Facebook group they can? What should they do?
Yeah, our website is www.shopthesixpack.com.
Okay.
And you just go in there, sign up, and we'll get you rolled into our group and our coaching group and create massive change.
Okay, cool. And then the Facebook group is where, and I was a member of. My wife signed up, and so I'm in the group, and a lot of people sharing in their successes and what's going on. So there's definitely that motivation from. There's got to be something about the community aspect of this that makes a big difference.
The tribe is a vibe. And so if your vibe is, I want to make a change and be the ultimate better version of me and start bettering in all of the areas, fitness, fundamentals, faith, family, finance, whatever it may be, that's there to support you. And then there's weekly coaching calls, there's apps, there's meal plans, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to sell. I'm trying to say, if you want to do it, you can do it. But you have to show up wanting to do it and wanting to make the change, because then the system is simple. You just have to execute it.
Yeah. The momentum comes, like the discipline. It's like a train. Like it takes a lot of energy to get that locomotive going.
Yeah.
And that would be the discipline. But then after it's going, it has the momentum, which is the habit. It's autopilot. My meals are prepped. I'm packing my food with me everywhere. I don't have to think about it. It's just, this is my new habit. This is the way I eat.
Right. So let's real quick, just for the audience, if they listen to this episode, maybe inspired, maybe mildly inspired, maybe not. Maybe they need something else to inspire them about their health, or maybe they're already doing great. I'm just curious, what's one thing that you might each share with the audience? What's something that helped you on your journey to just start bringing awareness to how important this is in all of our lives? Any thoughts?
I love these trackers. So just fitness trackers in general, I think are phenomenal. I personally like the Garmin ones, but something that shows I'm getting a decent amount of sleep. And then, Jeff has got his giant jug of water over there. Like, am I getting a decent amount of sleep? Am I making my 10,000 steps? Am I eating healthy and clean? That right there will show up so quickly. I literally never take my tracker off. I take it off to plug it in. Other than that, I'm tracking everything. I'm tracking my food, I'm tracking my calories, I'm tracking my weight, my muscle mass, my body fat, my visceral fat. It's so crazy right now. And this is a testament to, see, I give Jeff more credit because, he was the genesis. So I'll say what Jeff and Alan built, and I'm just along for the ride, is I had my blood work done last week from a naturopath, and she sets my blood work down, and she goes, "You are the absolute healthiest person I've looked at in over a year." And I was like, wow. She goes, "Well, except for this one thing right here." I was like, "Well, what's that one thing?" She's like, "Oh, that one is just shows you're under a lot of stress." I was like, "Well, okay, that's real life." But that right there is just from following the plan, following the process, and working it consistently. But also tell you it's progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Jeff, have you fallen off the bandwagon before?
A few times.
And I've fallen off the bandwagon too, and we all do. And so
Let's get back on.
It's just about like getting back on. I think too many times we beat ourselves up if we didn't get it perfect.
Right. Well, and I would even say, like, people say, "Oh, I messed up my meal at lunch." Well, you can actually get back on track for dinner. You don't have to then blow the whole day or then go, well, the whole week is shot. So I'll just
start again next month.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Like get back on, just like your kids, they fall off their bike. It's like, get up right now. And I would say the same thing. We all step out of line when we're trying to be disciplined about, what it is that we're doing or we're following a plan. You mess up. Don't wait the rest of the day. Don't wait until tomorrow. Like get back to your next meal, fix it, and that'll help a lot.
Yeah.
I will say this just before you give your one thing. I wear an Aura ring, and it tracks my sleep. It tracks my all sorts of stuff. My breathing regularity. Yeah. I mean, it helped me realize that I might have sleep apnea. So I'm talking to the doctor about that, and I'm some other solutions. But the ring told me that. And what the impact of that was to my oxygen levels. It measures my oxygen levels. Here's the funny thing about fitness trackers. I'm glad you brought that up, Anton, because it's one of those things where if you don't want to do anything to make changes, that's okay. Start with a fitness tracker because it will slowly over time make you go, my score was only a 75 yesterday for my sleep. Maybe if I just went to bed 15 minutes earlier, I could get that to an 82. Like we all want to win, right? We're all competitive. So you start competing with yourself if you just measure it. But what measured can be managed, right? So if you don't measure it, you don't know where you're going. So I think fitness tracker is an awesome idea. Aura ring is cool because I can just wear it, charge it once a week usually. My watch tracks a lot of fitness stuff. It's an Apple Watch, but I don't want to wear my watch to bed. So there's the Loop or the Whoop or whatever it's called that are just a really simple bracelet. But that's a great one, Anton. I agree with that.
Yeah, there's a saying, it's he who has his wealth has 1,000 dreams. He who doesn't have his health has one dream. And it's so important because if you're not healthy, you're not alive, right? Or you're not going to be alive very long, and you won't be able to take care of your family or others or see your grandchildren get married, right? And so I think it's really just taking a hard look at yourself and saying, am I in peak physical shape, and will I be able to live to 140 doing what I'm doing? And this is a mindset thing. This is an identity shift, right? And so you gotta put your oxygen mask on first. In order to change people, you have to change yourself. And then when you change yourself, people start seeing what Anton's doing and what we're doing, and they're coming along for the ride. And so you just got to figure out a way to just get that leverage over yourself so you can save others.
Yeah.
Lead by example, be the change you want to see in the world, right? Here's all these quotes coming out, but it's so important. It's an identity shift. So maybe what I started doing a year ago is I have my alarm remind me every morning. I make $10 million a month, and I have 6-pack abs. Well, the 6-pack abs are here, right? 10 million's on its way. But it just reminds me over and over and over. So I just started obsessing about what does that ideal physique and fitness and health look like, and just see it. And when you see it in your mind's eye, your outer world is a projection of your inner world, and it will actually manifest in the creation by you taking the actions and making it happen.
Right. So you're talking like maybe a step would be like some version of affirmations, or would you call it?
Obsess about it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, just start, looking at pictures on Pinterest of bodies, of fitness stuff that you want to create. Everything starts as a thought. This podcast was a thought, and here we are. Right? So thinking about what it is you want to create in life with your health or your money or anything is definitely the furthest upstream you can go. And then obsess about it, and then eventually you're going to have no other option but to execute on something.
Yeah, I love that.
It becomes your identity.
Yeah, 100%. So the one thing that I would say to do, I already mentioned it, I'm going to mention it again, is I think you need to, for me, this is what I do, is I listen to a lot of podcasts and take in a lot of information. Here's the reality, is like I'm going to link in the show notes down below a link to this podcast that I'm listening to right now. It would be impossible for you to listen to that episode and continue to make the same exact decisions that you're making right now without feeling something. I promise you. And when you take in the reality of what's going on with our food and what it's doing to our bodies, it will help you make that change. I believe that everybody gets to a point where maybe it's something that's happening to you physically. Like you mentioned, Jeff, people are they're sick. They see a family member that's sick. They're just something about their wellness is not good, and it's going to motivate them to make a change. But something has to click, and it doesn't have to be an illness. What it can be is education. You can take in the right information. It's available out there. And instead of listening to the radio on the way home from work, maybe listen to a podcast about what sugar and processed foods do to the insides of your body. Just an idea. That's what I would suggest doing. And by taking in that information, I feel like it will create a desire in you to figure out, okay, I need to make these changes. What are some ways I can do that? One of them would be teaming up with these guys, joining their group. But there's lots of solutions out there as well. But just do something. Or if you're uber disciplined on your own, then make those changes yourself. But I'll tell you, it's better when you do it as part of a group. The community is there, the accountability is there. Almost everybody needs that, I would say.
We all do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Right on. I appreciate you guys coming on. I appreciate you as the audience listening to this. We didn't talk about real estate. We didn't talk about the market, but here's the deal. You can't sell mortgages or real estate or be an investor or do anything at a high level that we talk about here on Market Shares without your help. And I hope that if nothing else, this inspired you guys. We'll be back next week as we do roll out a new episode every single Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And until then, take care, be healthy, and thank these guys for coming along for the ride. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.